Alright, we're out here at the excavator today. Had a big failure the other day. Got on the machine just to move a rock real quick. Cranked it up, reached down, tried to turn up the throttle. No up on throttle. So initially I thought, well, just the linkage has come loose. And went around to the back of the excavator. The throttle cable looked all floppy. I'd seen that before on other machines and realized I had to replace the throttle cable. This particular machine, it's got zero swing option, so it's basically super compact, super hard to work on, and I've got it tore into a million pieces. So I've already ordered the cable. It's a little over $100. One recommendation I'll make to you is there's a couple of cable companies. I think I ordered that one from Bunker Hill, but there's a lot of cables. Like if you order from the manufacturer, it's almost twice as much as ordering it from an actual cable manufacturer. But they had one for this machine. I got it ordered. It should be here sometime this week. I won't be fixing this on this video. Mainly it's just to show you kind of how to get one of these John Deere's or Hitachis apart. And how big of a pain it is just to do the simplest things. The throttle cable literally connects in two places and then has two pivot points for the levers. And boy, there's a lot more stuff you got to take apart. I'm going to grab the camera and walk you around the machine and kind of show you where I'm at. I'm to the point to where when the cable comes, I can actually start installing it. I've not completely removed the other cable because I want to see the routing. I don't want to let it sit, be a couple of days before I get that new cable and try to route it without the other cable being there. So it's more or less just memory. There's too many pictures that I would have to take to figure out where it actually goes. And it's really hard to get to. It's a lot easier just to leave it in. I'll grab the camera and we'll take a walk around the machine. Alright, so here is the mess. Basically I've got just about every panel that I can take off other than the rear lid and that radiator shroud. I've taken off all of the interior. That throttle cable is right. See if I can even get to it. Okay, it's right there. You can kind of see it right there at the bottom. But this is the throttle actuator. And I had to basically remove the seat. Left all the controls. It's kind of gives you enough room to flip up. One thing on the John Deere's, if you ever have to adjust the belt, this little access panel here is where you can actually adjust the belt tension. At some point I'm going to have to put a new water pump in this, and I'll need to get back to that. I may measure that today and go ahead and order it and replace it at the same time. Just real quick on this machine, here's your pattern selector. I'm on backhoe. Filter is there for the hydraulic. This is the hydraulic tank here. This is a nightmare. When I put on the thumb, I had to get it up underneath there and get to the valve and adjust the pressure. This side wasn't that bad. That side back there was a nightmare. One thing I'll mention is they did label these, and some of the labels are off, and I had to relabel them. But you can actually unplug this entire manifold, and you can remove these bolts and actually slide that thing out of the way if you need to. But man, it is a nightmare rerouting all of those cables. And these are just push fittings, in case you're wondering how those come off. So this side screws on. This side here is a quick disconnect. And if you're wondering, most of this water, when I got it apart last night, just the side panels, I didn't get all this done last night. I'll basically wash the machine down. I really don't like working on a nasty machine. I bought this machine used and I've not cleaned it thoroughly up underneath. I cleaned the outside really good, but it's, definitely got some age on it. You can kind of see how much room there you got to work. Not very much. Tons of bolts. One thing I'll mention, when you can, try to put the bolts back in whatever you take it out of. It'll make it a lot easier to reinstall. As you can see, big pile of parts. We've got the glove box cover, handrail, rubber mat, 2-speed control, another side panel, the rear section panel. I was kind of hoping the throttle cable, I've actually pulled it out, but it comes back here to the engine and connects on right there. But I've actually pulled it out because I wanted to be able to pull it around and be able to see the other side. So, but it actually goes down, snakes around, and takes a really sharp angle back up. And it doesn't follow the normal pattern for some reason. I would have expected it to be up here where you could get to it, but it's not. It's actually down below the motor mounts. It comes up across here and then goes up kind of at a weird angle up through that hole. You can kind of see it there, stick poking out. But just a ton of stuff. I've never taken this particular panel off. I did have a question. If anyone's got a John Deere, I'm assuming that these were fuses. It looks like I'm not entirely sure, but it looks like a fuse or something, and it's not connected, and it looks like if it was a fuse, the tops have popped out or busted. If you know what this is, let me know. Leave me a comment down at the bottom. I want to take care of that before I actually assemble the machine back together. Not a whole lot on this side. Basically, the battery access panel is the top panel here, and you can pull it off real easy. It's basically 2 screws. I do have some PB blasters sitting on these. Got a couple of bolts, throughout the machine that have snapped off. I didn't snap these off. They're snapped off when I bought it. But I'm going to center punch and drill and remove these bolts and replace them. Everything pretty much here on the top is I think it's an M8 125. So I've got several bolts that I need to replace. It'll just make the machine a little bit more steady. As far as getting bashed, as you can see, this thing's got bashed several times. The more screws are in it, the less it'll bend, in theory. But having that a little bit extra play really makes these body panels bend if something hits them. Saw a couple of things I want to fix. I noticed this this fuel thing. There's 2 fuel filters here. This one was actually loose and kind of rocking back and forth. Had a small leak. I fixed that. I've got the filters to put back in. I've changed these once, but I'm going to go ahead and change them again while I'm in here. But as you can see, to get to something so simple, you basically have to disassemble this entire machine. If you need to do something on hydraulics, you basically have to disassemble that whole side of assembly back there. The only really easy things to get to, obviously the battery. Fuel tank doesn't look that bad. It looks like you could basically just undo the strap and unhook a couple of lines and it would slide right out. Hydraulic pump looks really easy to get to. The engine, so-so. You can get to it, but a lot of things are a lot harder. I know to take off this water pump, this is a little Isuzu engine, a little 3-cylinder. You have to basically take off this fan shroud. You need to get to that back access panel back there to do some belt unloosening. And then basically you have to take off the water pump with the shroud off. I'm going to give you another shot there of this. I think the counterweight's actually designed. I think most of them have like a screw or place to latch on. I think this counterweight weighs about 600 pounds. So if you took that counterweight off, that would expose the majority of the back of the machine. Luckily, when I had bought the machine, it looked like whoever purchased it before me had just swapped out lines. So hopefully I won't have to worry about any of the heavy lines. I think I do have a small leak. I've already fixed one. There was a leak here, right here on this fitting, and I think there's another leak on top there. So with this throttle cable, it went straight up and down, and there's no way to get a wrench in there. If you watch my toolbox video, I had that crowfoot set of sockets. So crowfoot's actually like a flat section, and it's got an extension or a 3/8 inch square drive on the edge. So I was able to actually stick that crowfoot down, take an extension, a big bar. I actually had extensions all the way up to here to get that adjustment nut to turn, and finally got it off. It was kind of a nightmare to get off, to be honest. Let's see if I can grab this around, and can't camera view, but you can kind of see it there. So that nut right there, it actually goes into this. There's a little pivot point that screws onto the cable there. But it's been a rough week. So this broke my razor. I have a bad U-joint in the prop shaft. I ordered I actually went with the CV style prop shaft, both sides of the prop shaft. Ordered that. That should be here next week. So that's another repair that I got to do. And then the machine, on my last almost machining video, the toolbox video, an airline broke, and it was a 10mm by 8mm airline, and I did not have any of that line. I could not find it anywhere locally. So next week I'll have 3 repairs. I'll be fixing this, fixing the razor, and getting that machine back up and running. I've got some assemblies that I need to produce, but it's been an interesting week. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Be sure to subscribe and click that bell.